there was a lot of confusion and discussion about what was going to happen with deductions. They were talking about capping them, they were talking about curtailing them, limiting them. What wound up happening?
Yeah, and Maury, there's still confusion when you read the paper about what's going on with these deductions. A lot of people are still confused. But basically what got put into the law was that there is a cap on deductions, and it's for individuals who have gross income above $250,000 and couples who have income above $300,000.
In this case, adjusted gross income as opposed to taxable income.
Correct. And what this limitation is once you get above that threshold, to the extent you're above that threshold, there's a 3% limitation based on your adjusted gross income in excess of this $300,000 for a married couple, limited to a total loss of deductions of no more than 80%.
So to put some numbers into that, if you had AGI of $1 million and the threshold was $300,000, your excess would be $700,000. That 3% limitation would be $21,000. So if you had $200,000 of itemized deductions, you would lose $21,000 of that $200,000.
That's correct.
But it's not a cap in the sense that every additional dollar of deduction you have, you'd get a benefit for in theory.
Right, and that's very important because a lot of people, when they saw that there was a cap on deductions, were afraid that maybe they wouldn't be able to get a deduction for their additional charitable contributions, let's say. But for people in high tax income states like a New York, for example, a lot of people will be above this threshold and in effect have their deductions, these limitations on deductions already apply to what they're going to have to pay anyway. So from a planning point of view, someone who is charitably inclined or has a mortgage should still be able to get the benefit of the charitable contributions and their mortgage interest deductions in spite of this limitation on deductions. But what this limitation on deductions, I guess, has the effect of doing is it's really like a little bit of a sneaky rate increase. So just, back of the envelope, someone who's subject to these limitations, it's probably the equivalent of about 1% interest in their tax rates. So someone maybe who has now a top marginal tax bracket of 39.6%, maybe it's really a percentage point or so higher.
So the key is, with respect to the deductions, and with respect to all this in general, is you have a lot of moving pieces with this. There's really no one-size-fits-all answer to a lot of this planning, whether you have cap gains or ordinary income, and how the deductions fit into all this. You really have to be thoughtful about where these things fall in.
Right. Everything has its own set of limitations based on different income levels and things like that. We've even talked about, someone will say, oh, my rate is going up from 35% to 39.6%, or maybe more, as we've discussed. But if you're still subject to alternative minimum tax, it's possible that your rate could be 28%, because as we've discussed, the alternative minimum tax is really a side-by-side computation with the regular tax, and whichever one is higher, in effect, you pay. And that's a very tricky thing, just to understand what someone's top marginal tax bracket is going to be without really taking a look at their personal situation and crunching the numbers.